Hello, everybody. My name is Lauri Bingham, and I am here live from my home during COVID, but want to be able to talk with you about mobilizing your own grassroots movement to be able to empower a gender diversity initiative within technology at your organization. So let me just get started. So again, Lauri Bingham, Director of Technology at T-Mobile. Feel free to follow me on Twitter, and if you need to, you can also send me an email after all of this is over. Um, what I want to start with initially is just a little bit about why I'm passionate around women in technology. It comes from a very personal experience in my own life and just my own personal journey. When I was young, probably about 14, 15 years old, my parents were divorced. And my mother at that time had never worked before. And here she was with two teenage girls living at home. She had never had a job outside of the home before, and things tumbled. And there was a lot of struggle within our family just to be able to make ends meet. I took away from that personal experience the fact that I never wanted to be in a situation where I was dependent on somebody else to be able to pay the bills, make sure that we had groceries, etc. So, so that has transpired through all kinds of learnings in my career, being able to make sure that I can take care of myself regardless of the circumstances. Turns out, moving into technology, and I studied technology while I was in college. I was the first one in my family to ever go to college. So that was kind of a new path and new journey for me, but I was very determined and moved into technology in my career. It's really served me incredibly well. I was a single mom when I was in my early 20s. Being a woman in technology helped me through that experience. I had great support and being able to take care of both myself and my daughter. And now, fast forward multiple years later, my husband and I have four kids all together. All of them have, all of them are self-sufficient, and being a woman in technology has made that all a possibility. And I would also add, during these times of COVID and having to work from home, being a woman in technology is helping me yet again because I've got retirement plans that I want to be able to eventually not be working, but being a woman in tech is being able to allow me to continue working and having these kinds of conversations with you here today. So it is a very personal journey, and within just a couple of generations, I've been able to change that trajectory for my family. So that's why it's all very personal to me, and I want to be able to share a little bit about our journey here at T-Mobile. I also want to be able to share with you just some basic data that goes along with this particular challenge with women in technology. So as you can see from the slide, we have lots of data that tells us that women, as they are progressing forward in their careers, are not represented at the same rates as our men. We have 1 in 5 C-suite leaders who are female, and only 1 in 25 of those are women of color. So the numbers are not super positive when it comes to women. It's great for organizations to say that they want to hire diverse employees, but when you end up getting there and you're the only one, it feels more like exclusion than it does inclusion. If you were to look at this, this particular report is coming from a Lean In and McKinsey report, the Women in the Workplace. On the next slide, I'll show you the actual link that you can get to this, but it also has all of these numbers broken down by industry, which is also very interesting, and they vary, obviously. So that talent pipeline changes depending on which exact industry you're looking at. Level women, some struggle more with advancing women in their careers. Sometimes it might be that middle management layer. Sometimes it might kind of wait until it gets into that senior leadership level. However, all of them need help, regardless of what industry you might be working in. I know all of you are technology based, and all of those numbers are slightly different depending on which industry you're actually supporting it. So all of this is really to ground everybody in why is it important for more women to move into technology careers. This also comes from the report I was talking about from McKinsey, the Women in the Workplace report. Turns out that they came up in 2019 with 6 particular actions for companies to take on creating more gender diverse employees within their organizations. Now, when we started our Women in Technology initiative several years ago, we didn't have this report, but turns out we were doing several of these 6 actions, and you'll hear me talk about that a little bit as we go through this presentation. But I just wanted to ground everybody in. There's lots of research that supports these particular 6 actions, clearly talking about making that only experience rare rather than the norm for everybody. So that's a key point in the presentation going forward. So now I want to be able to share with you how T-Mobile tackled this particular opportunity and our approach at being able to get more gender diverse employees within our organization. So we started very grassroots. This was not a top-down organization. It was not a top-down initiative. It was very grassroots. So one individual contributor within the organization decided that, hey, maybe the women that I know throughout the organization should talk together and have a meeting and talk about what is this experience like as a woman in technology. And she was able to kind of gather together about 18 different attendees several years ago, and everybody had really great things to say about being collectively experiences like. Along the way, she drafted a couple like-minded, passionate leaders, myself included. This conversation happened within the first couple of weeks of my employment at T-Mobile. The woman on my left, Amy Kellogg, asked, hey, would you like to be one of the women in tech leaders within the organization? And I said, yes. What does that mean exactly? And she kind of laughed and she says, well, we're making it up and we're going to make it what we think it needs to be. And I said, I'm all in. Let's get started. What does get started look like? Well, I work in a project management organization. I know that projects and a project charter and a plan is all the language of our business leaders. This is how we communicated with our leaders. We put together a charter. We had some plans together. We had some ideas about what we were going to do. And we were able to communicate what our plan was with our executive leadership. And being able to speak in the language that your organization uses in order to be able to kick off new initiatives is the piece of advice that I'd like to give in this space. So charters and projects, that's how we get all of our work done. And so that was the communication method. We also very purposely did not ask for any money at first. We just wanted some space and time to be able to put together some plans and be able to put together some meetings and some communication with some leaders. We wanted to try out several things. We didn't know what were going to be the right things for our organization, but we wanted the freedom and the support to be able to try those things out. And that's really that beginning stage, is that you're going to have to try out some different things. Now, we had some folks who, were very, very passionate around, we needed to change all of the job descriptions. So we went down that path and we got HR started in that space. We also had some folks who were very concerned about making sure that diverse candidates in those slates. And so we also worked with HR in those spaces too. But none of those felt like, well, what can we do as leaders within the rest of the organization, ICs and the rest of the technology organization? What can we do other than supporting HR in their efforts? And that's where we came along with the quarterly Women in Tech community meetings. So again, tagging on to what was successful from the very beginning, meeting together and talking about the things that women in tech are passionate around and kind of the areas that they wanted more attention and focus on. So we landed in that space that first year, and we tried it out a couple of different ways. We looked at what day and what time was right for a meeting. We thought at first, hey, it'll be fantastic if we had everybody together, Skype, in person, everybody together, large group of people all talking about the same thing. Turns out we were wrong. Turns out that created a lot of, different experiences. So the people in the room had a different experience than the people that were on the Skype call. So we decided to move that differently going forward, but we were learning all the way around. And we also learned talking about what time of day is right. Is early morning best? Turns out, no, that's not. Is evening best? No, that's not right either, because a lot of the women had responsibilities to get home and make sure that families were taken care of and had other things going on in the evening. So evening time wasn't right. We landed in that lunch seemed to be the right place to be able to get the best attendance. But again, it was a little trial and error to be able to get there. We also grounded everybody on a mission statement. So we wanted everything that we were doing to be able to align to the purpose of all of the activities that we want to do is to be able to improve gender diversity within our technology organization. And at T-Mobile, our technology organization, engineering, it networks all of our field engineering teams. It encompasses our traditional IT organization, the software developers. All of those employees are all considered technology employees. And we wanted to be able to, support all of them. So it's not just one team, it's all of the teams within our technology organization. Then by the time we got to year 2, we were like, okay, well, what do we do next? How do we continue to move our initiative forward? And we landed on, because there were 3 of us, 3 leaders, it made sense to be able to focus on 3 different pillars of focus. We had a lot longer list, I'll be honest with you, but our executive sponsors were there to keep our feet grounded and make sure that we did not bite off more than we could chew, and making sure that we were successful at what we were achieving, and making sure that we could show some success and progress going along. So we wanted, whatever we did do, we wanted to do really well. So we've landed in 3 different pillars. That's our Women in Tech community meetings, diversity Women in Tech conferences, and then STEM events are our 3 areas of focus. When it comes to our community meetings, we plan out the agenda for the entire year. We survey the people attending the meeting so that we know what kind of topics are top of mind. We curate the content. We put together a deck. We train the folks to be able to share that deck, and they are hosted by leaders within their own organization. So at this point in time, we had 10 different locations. So we talked with 10 different people in 10 different buildings across the country, making sure that they felt comfortable with the content and delivering it in person to their fellow colleagues in that office. Now, in these times of COVID, we are also being very agile when it comes to all of this. Today, because of the model that we have built and the way that we have been able to roll this out, it was really easy to be able to flip all of that to Skype or WebEx meetings. So now we can still deliver the same content, the same value that we've been providing to everybody for the last couple of years, but in a new and different format, so that everybody can still get through these kinds of meetings, have that support with their community that they have built now, and be able to do it over Skype or WebEx. We also keep some stats. So we also wanted to make sure that we had good attendance, that we had great support from our allies. So we are making sure that we invite all of the technology employees in that particular location to every meeting. So all of the men, all of the women, everybody gets the invite, and we encourage and want to have our male allies attend with us. They are learning just as much about being a woman in tech sometimes as the women are, and they ask really great questions about how they can support and how they can leverage and make sure that they are bringing more women into the organization and supporting them when they do get into the organization. So we kept lots of stats. You'll see that, and we are tracking over time the increase of our ally attendance as well. We also do, like I said, we do a survey at the end of each of our meetings. Hey, do you look forward to the next one? Turns out 94% of the folks surveyed agree that they do look forward to the next meeting. 92% of the folks who have attended the meetings rate the information really valuable. We have 95% who plan on participating again. So we make sure that we are continuing to serve up content that is valuable. At the end of every survey, we ask the question, what other kinds of topics would you like covered? And those are verbatims that we pull for the next cycle of meetings. So we are in constant touch with all of the folks who are attending all of our meetings. The second pillar that I was talking about is our Women in Tech diversity conferences. So we developed a little bit of a process. What we wanted to be able to have is a way for people who may not feel as supported as they may feel a little shy, a little less confident of being able to have the conversation with their manager about, hey, can I attend a conference and learn some new material? It's a big expense. Sometimes teams have limited budget. So we are providing the budget and the support for those attendees to be able to get to a conference. But we have a nomination form. We want to make sure that the content that is being delivered at the conference ties into their individual development plan. So if their IDP has something along the lines of, for instance, expanding their executive presence or presentation skills, we want to make sure that the conference also has tracks and sessions on being able to improve those kinds of skills. So we make that tight connection for everybody. We also pull, once people have been selected to be able to go to the conference, we pull everybody together. We want them to meet. We want them to know each other, share each other's telephone numbers and email addresses. And we purposely choose people who are in different teams, different parts of the country, so that they can meet each other. One of the great avenues of going to these conferences is that networking that they are able to do with each other. They're meeting people in different parts of the organization that they would never have had an opportunity to work with on a project or an initiative together. So what that is enhancing is the only women in this particular team and the only women in this particular team. Now they are a team, and now they are a cohort of people who are experiencing that conference together, and they're building long-term relationships and networking together. We also make sure that everybody has a T-Mobile t-shirt. We send everybody together, make sure that they are in a block of hotel rooms together. We make sure that they have dinners or coffee in the morning together. And then when they come back, we also make sure that we learn from them. What was the conference like? Did we do any of the scheduling stuff, kind of wonky? How can we learn from that? And each of the conferences is a little bit different. So we want to be able to make sure that people are prepared in advance. Some of them are really big, and we want to make sure that they have space in between sessions. Others have a different kind of dress code, and we want to make sure that the ones that expect something more than a t-shirt, people are prepared for that. So we have all of those lessons learned that we gather from everybody, and then we expect them to share what they learned from the conference in some way, shape, or form. So they may go back to their teams and they may do a presentation. They may write a newsletter, which is an example down at the bottom. So we are expecting them to share what they have learned with others, and that then enhances their leadership, as well as it teaches other people back at the organization. You'll see on this slide, these are some of the conferences that have been long-term on our list. IEEE is certainly on our list and has been on our list from the very beginning. And we're also watching this during these times of COVID. Many of these conferences are being canceled. Many of them are moving to virtual. And so we're paying attention to all of that and redoing our list for 2020. We also have a couple of new ones that popped onto the list in 2020 as well, because they are moving to a virtual platform. Many of them are offering free services. So that has opened up our eyes to totally different new organizations to be able to tap into. We're really excited about this. But this is part of our agility of being able to consider what's going on in our environment and being able to adjust accordingly. Our third pillar, Boys and Girls Club STEM events. So we did a great partnership with our corporate responsibility team from the Boys and Girls Club. We bring them into an office. We have basically a field trip organized for them. So we've got lots of examples. They wander around our tech experience lab. If they happen to be in Bellevue, they may do a tour of the network operations center if they're going in Frisco, Texas. And anything that we have available in our particular offices for the kids to see real life, examples of what they can do with the technology career. And then we have lots of really fun games and activities for them to do as well. Again, this is a great way for our employees to be able to give back. This was a thing that we saw on our surveys on a continued basis about how our employees want to be able to make sure that more kids are understanding what they can do with a technology career. And this is a great partnership with the Boys and Girls Club to make that happen. Now, when it comes to the third year, so this is just like, this is the way that we happened to go through this exercise. We wanted to expand. We wanted to do something a little bit different. And what we decided to do was to really enhance and refine our expansion. So we wanted to keep those three pillars. Our meeting locations expanded. So we went beyond so we took that exact same model with 10 locations, some other teams, including our call centers, heard about our initiative and wanted to be able to tap into it as well. So now we're doing those Women in Tech meetings in a call center environment. Now, those are fabulous employees that we want to be able to support in any way that we possibly can. And so we're really excited to be able to expand our meetings to other teams beyond our technology organization. We've also expanded our Women in Tech and Diversity Conference attendance. So what we're doing now is we're sending, rather than 5 people where we started, we may move that to 10, 15, 20 people. There's also a diminishing returns at some point. If you send too many, then they break off into smaller groups and they don't get the synergies. So we're, playing around with what is the exact right number to be able to send people to conferences, but expanding it in that space. And then in the STEM events area, what we learned from our employees who were holding those and organizing them, hey, I want my kids to be able to get the value of a STEM event as well. And so we took that exact same model and we expanded it to a Bring Your Kids to Work Day event in multiple of our organizations so that our employees' kids can come in and get that same kind of stimulation of what a STEM career could look like. We also wanted to make sure that all of our leaders knew about our Women in Technology initiative. We were really fortunate to have the support to be able to do a live panel discussion. This was broadcast all across the country live. Great conversation with fabulous SVP, VP, senior director, leaders within the technology organization asking really honest questions about how did they get there, what is their advice for somebody moving into technology, and being able to share that with the entire organization was really, really a fabulous moment. We want to be able to, share those kinds of moments with all of our employees to be able to help them understand what their careers could look like in technology as well. So now I'm going to wrap up with some of our key, keys to starting your own gender diversity initiative. So these are my tips and tricks for the very end. Number one, don't get stuck on how to measure success. We had lots of conversations. We're a bunch of technologists. We want to look at the data. What are we going to measure? It got to the point where let's just get something started to figure out what we should measure. And so my advice to everybody is just try a few things. It will come to you what is the right thing to measure. We ended up with attendance and allyship and making sure that the content of the conference, the Women in Tech community meetings was valuable. Those things all time rather than trying to figure out what to measure at the very beginning. There's also no solutions. So these are the things that land well with our organization. Many of the things that maybe we tried that didn't work may work great in your organization. So don't feel like this is a prescription. Just Just try some things and know that you'll learn and adjust going forward. Number three, show up and use your professional relationships to do that. So find those folks in the organization who have great relationships. The PMO and the project managers know just about everybody in the organization. So it's a great way for us to tap into, hey, can you come along? Hey, would you like to be a women in tech leader? Use those professional relationships in new and different ways. You'll find all kinds of value in that space. Number four, it's a marathon, not a sprint. Like the plan that I put forward here in front of you today, that was a 3-year journey, and we're into year 5 right now. So it's a marathon. It doesn't all have to happen in the same month. Pace yourself, because again, most of this work for most of us, myself included, it's volunteer work. This is work that we're doing in addition to all of the rest of the great work that we're doing in the organization. Which leads me to number 5, you can't do it all at once, and don't get discouraged. You will, as you're going through this initiative planning and building up, you'll find those like-minded, passionate people. Those are the ones that you're going to lean on when things are a little bit tough. I've tried these 5 things. None of the 5 worked. It's okay. We're all in this together. We're just trying to figure out what is the right thing for our organization. And that leads to number 6, bring people with you. So bring people along. There's going to be some, early adopters who totally understand it from the very beginning. Those are going to be your huge advocates. There's going to be a bunch of people in the middle that if you just talk to, they're totally going to get it. And there's going to be a few people who just don't want to spend time on it, don't necessarily support it, don't get that it's a thing, and that's okay. Like, just spend your time with the people that do get it and want to be more passionate around it and want to be able to make things better. There's a point where you're just going to have to move forward, and not everybody is going to be ready for this. Number 7, say yes. When somebody asks you, do you want to be one of the women in tech leaders in your organization? And I'm asking you, please say yes and lead through that change. You're going to have all kinds of challenges presented to you. Make sure that you just work with your team and push through it. You will get there. I'm super excited to be able to share all of this with you. And now we could do some Q&A for those of you who are online. And for the rest of you who are just watching this virtually, thank you so much for spending time with me. I really appreciate it.